Hello gamers, welcome to the final section, Getting Serious About Gameplay. Here we're going to finish our second game project. Here we're going to first build the UI for our game, then we will be creating an infinite scrolling map, and finally we will create a spawning system to generate both enemies and decorations. Now we move on to the section's first video, Building the UI. In this video, we are going to first set up the UI, then we will create the lives counter and star score counter. This time around, our UI is going to be counting a few more things than our last game. We are going to represent the lives of the player with a discrete number of heart icons. The first thing to do is to prepare the UI elements so that they can be easily scripted. Thus, we need to decide where our UI will be shown. As per the design, we want to show both the score and the number of lives in the bottom left part of the screen. Let's start to create a panel by right-clicking on the Hierarchy panel, and then UI panel. So, we have got a panel. I resize it as per my requirement. In our case, I have used the pre-made rectangle. Now I change the color to suit our game. As a result, our panel will look like the following. The next step is to add the three UI elements, the level number, the number of lives, they will be represented as hearts, and the points scored will be represented with a star icon. In order to achieve this, we are going to use Century Gothic font for all the text. Before we move on, just to create a text, I position it change the font color, and then rename it as Level 1. Let me reposition it again. With this, I have created one of the three functions of our UI, showing the level. Now it's time to implement the lives counter of the player. As per the design, the player has up to a maximum of 3 lives, all represented by a heart sprite per life on the screen. Let's start by creating a new UI image and use the heart in our package as our icon. Then I duplicate it twice so we have 3 hearts and name them heart_0, heart_1, and heart_2. Then place them on our panel just after the Level 1 label. Next, I create an empty game object in our UI, just under the main panel, and place it in such a way that it covers up all the 3 hearts. Then parent the hearts to this empty game object by preserving the order. And I rename it UI Hearts. Then I create a new C# script named Lives Counter and attach it to the UI Hearts game object. Inside the script, we need a variable to keep track of how many lives the player has left, which can be just an integer value, so we add these 2 lines. Another variable is important to keep track of the maximum number of lives the player can have. Depending on the number of lives that we want to show or not, we will display a heart. To do this, I create an array to store all of them. The array can be private because we can get the references from the start functions, because the hearts are children of UI hearts, where the script is running. In the start function, we need to do 2 important things. Finally, I initialize the number of lives to the maximum, and secondly, get the references to the 3 hearts. Since this script can be adapted to as many hearts as we wish, we need to get the references to a heart for each life. We do it by using a for loop. Now we need a function that can be called to increase the number of lives, and we will call it addLife, and then add the code. This function will increment the number of lives, clamp the values to the maximum allowed, and finally call a function to update the graphics, which we will implement soon. Similarly, we add a function called remove life with this block of code. This is used to remove one of the player's lives, checks whether the player has no lives, and in this case, triggers the game over conditions. In our case, we reload level 1, assuming you have called your level this and put it in the scene build. Finally, it updates the graphics, hearts, like before. Lastly, we need to implement the function that actually updates the graphics. This is the code to do it. Here we cycle the hearts array, and depending on whether the number of lives is greater or less than the current index of the heart, we enable or disable that heart. Save the script, but we haven't finished yet. Right now the live system works, but no lives will be removed when the spaceship is hit. Therefore, let's open Player Controller and modify the hit function. Here I place a call to lives counter, assuming that there is just one instance in the game, to remove the player's life. Save this script, and now you can pat yourself on the back because the live system is working properly. Next, we create the star score counter. The creating of a scoring system should be well known to you by now. If not, you can always go back and revise how the scoring system is done. Then, try to implement it by yourself for this project. You should end up with something similar. Let's test it now. Now our player is able to move and is also able to shoot the bullets. Looks cool, right?